The rain fell like shards of glass that night, slicing through the cold November air as thunder rolled above the city. Beneath an old, half-collapsed bus shelter sat a young woman, her thin blanket soaked, her trembling hands wrapped around a small paper cup half filled with rainwater. Her name was Aria Coleman, and she had been invisible to the world for far too long. Each night she whispered a silent prayer, not for riches or fame, but simply for warmth, for food, for a reason to keep holding on. She had lost her parents in a fire 3 years ago and had no one left. The streets became her home, and loneliness became her only companion. But on that stormy night, fate was about to write a story she could never have imagined. Before we dive deeper, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of love, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul Moments Story, where every tale reminds us that even the smallest acts of compassion can change a life forever. The storm grew fiercer, and Aria shivered as the wind tore at her torn jacket. That's when she heard it, a faint, pitiful whimper coming from across the alley. At first, she thought it was the wind, but then it came again, softer yet more desperate. Dragging herself up, she followed the sound to a cardboard box near a trash bin. Inside was a small golden retriever puppy, drenched and shaking violently, its eyes wide with fear. The sight broke something inside her. She knelt, ignoring the cold water pooling around her knees, and whispered softly, "Hey there, little one, it's okay. You're not alone." Without hesitation, Aria pulled the shivering dog into her arms. The pup whimpered once, then pressed its tiny body against her chest, as if trusting her instantly. She returned to her spot under the shelter, wrapping her thin blanket around them both. All night, she held that dog close, sharing what little warmth she had. She named him Lucky, because in a world that had shown her so much pain, saving him made her feel, just for a moment, like luck still existed. When dawn broke, the storm had passed, leaving the streets glistening under a pale morning sun. Aria sat beside Lucky, stroking his damp fur, wondering how she would feed him. She hadn't eaten properly in 2 days, but she found a half-eaten sandwich someone had dropped near a cafe trash bin and shared it with him. Watching the puppy eat with innocent joy filled her heart with a quiet happiness she hadn't felt in years. But as she looked at his collar, faded, but with a small engraved tag, she noticed a name and number, "Buddy, call 555-4639. Her heart sank. The dog wasn't lost, he was someone's beloved pet. For a moment, she hesitated. Giving him back meant losing the only warmth she had found in months. But deep down, Aria knew what was right. She whispered, "You deserve to go home, Lucky. Maybe that's what I was meant to do, help you find your way back." Later that morning, she approached a public phone booth outside a convenience store. Her fingers trembled as she inserted a few coins she had begged for and dialed the number on the tag. A deep male voice answered, sounding panicked. "Hello. Who is this?" Aria's voice quivered. "I found your dog. He was lost in the rain last night." There was a long silence, then a gasp of relief. "Oh my God, Buddy. Is he safe?" Aria nodded, tears forming. "He's safe. He's been with me all night." The man's voice softened. "Please, tell me where you are. I'll come right away." Within 20 minutes, a sleek black car pulled up near the alley. A tall man stepped out, his expensive coat soaked at the edges from the wet pavement. His name was Ethan Marlowe, CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the city. But at that moment, he wasn't a businessman, he was just a man terrified of losing his best friend. When he saw the dog in Aria's arms, his eyes filled with tears. Buddy barked joyfully and leapt into his embrace. Ethan knelt down, gently touching Aria's shoulder. "You found him. I can't thank you enough." Aria smiled faintly, her eyes tired yet kind. "He was cold and scared. I just did what anyone would." But Ethan could see the truth, the girl's clothes were torn, her shoes worn through, and yet she had shared her only blanket to save a stranger's dog. He asked quietly, "Where do you live? I'd like to give you something for helping me." Aria's eyes dropped to the ground. "I don't really have a home. Not anymore." The words hung heavy in the air. Ethan was speechless for a moment. In the bustle of his corporate world, surrounded by glass towers and wealth, he had forgotten that people like her still existed, kind souls who had nothing, yet gave everything. He wanted to offer her help, but she was already backing away, whispering, "It's okay. Just take care of him. That's all I want." She turned and disappeared down the street before he could say another word. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The image of that fragile girl haunted him, the way she smiled despite her pain, the way she held Buddy as if saving him had saved her too. He told himself she was just another person in need, but deep down, he knew there was something extraordinary about her. By morning, he had made a decision. He asked his driver to take him back to the area where she had been seen. Arya, meanwhile, sat outside an abandoned bakery, feeding a few crumbs of bread to some pigeons. The city was alive with people rushing to work, cars honking, and laughter echoing from nearby cafes. None of them noticed her. None of them ever did. She closed her eyes, feeling the ache of hunger in her stomach, when she suddenly heard a voice calling her name. She looked up, and there he was. Ethan Marlowe, the man she had helped, standing in front of her with Buddy wagging his tail excitedly. Arya froze, unsure what to say. Ethan smiled gently. "I've been looking for you. You didn't even tell me your name yesterday." Her lips trembled. "Why would you look for me?" "Because," he said softly, "you did something I'll never forget. You saved my best friend. You gave me back a piece of my heart. And I can't just walk away knowing you're out here with nothing." Arya shook her head. "You don't owe me anything. I just wanted him to be safe." Ethan sighed, his eyes filled with warmth. "Then let me do something for you. Let me help you find your way back too." At first, she refused, pride holding her back. But the sincerity in his voice broke through her defenses. He took her to a small cafe nearby, ordered her a warm meal, and listened, really listened, as she shared her story. How she lost her parents in a fire, how she drifted from one shelter to another, how life had slowly pushed her to the edge. Ethan felt a lump form in his throat. This wasn't just another story of misfortune, it was a story of quiet courage. By the end of their conversation, he handed her a small card with his number on it. "If you ever need a job, a place to stay, anything, call me. Promise." Arya looked down at the card, tears glistening in her eyes. "Thank you. I don't know if I deserve that kind of kindness." He smiled. "You do. You gave it first." Days turned into weeks. Arya found temporary shelter through a local outreach program Ethan connected her with. But she still struggled to adjust. Years of hardship had taught her not to trust hope too easily. Yet, every few days, Buddy and Ethan would visit her with food, clothes, and that same gentle smile. Slowly, Arya began to believe that maybe, just maybe, life was giving her another chance. One afternoon, Ethan came to her shelter with an envelope. Inside was a letter and a small apartment key. Arya's hands shook as she read it. "Arya, this world needs more hearts like yours. Consider this apartment not as charity, but as gratitude for the lesson you reminded me of, that humanity still exists. Use it as a place to start over." She burst into tears, clutching the key as Ethan gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's time to come home," he said quietly. Months later, Arya was working as an assistant in Ethan's company, her own desk by the window, the same city that once ignored her now shining beneath her feet. She walked to work each morning with Buddy trotting happily beside her, wearing a bright red collar she had bought with her first paycheck. Ethan often watched from his office, smiling, proud of the woman who had taught him that compassion was worth more than any fortune. On the one-year anniversary of the night she saved Buddy, Ethan hosted a charity gala in her honor, raising funds for homeless youth. Standing before hundreds of guests, Arya shared her story, not of sorrow, but of hope. "Sometimes," she said through tears, "it takes losing everything to understand what truly matters. I was just a girl who wanted to save a dog from the rain. I didn't know that kindness would save me too." The room erupted in applause, many wiping their eyes. As the lights dimmed and music played, Ethan leaned toward her and whispered, "You changed more lives than you'll ever know, Arya." She smiled softly, looking out at the crowd. "Maybe, but it all started with a little dog who needed saving." The camera fades on Arya standing on the balcony that night, Buddy by her side, the city lights glowing beneath them like stars. For the first time in years, she felt truly alive, not because someone saved her, but because kindness had found its way back to her heart. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Soul Moments Story. Every click helps us spread more stories of compassion,